I think it's time that we start to think about the future and we start making decisions about what we want from our lives. I mean, it's clear at the moment that the kind, benevolent government and the authority figures, the councillors of local councillors, are hell-bent on bringing in their tyrannical policies. Now, I understand that not all of the town councillors actually know that they're bringing in these tyrannical policies, the 15-minute cities. I mean, some of them don't even know what that is. They just think they're doing the right thing. But we know that the government and I should say the puppet government and those people who are, what shall we say, have pressure on them, those people who are unelected and unaccountable, who are pulling those strings, they're the ones who are making sure that we head towards this rather uncomfortable future for you and I. That is, of course, if we acquiesce to digital IDs, 15-minute cities, we follow the path to net zero, the countdown to disaster, whether we want to get rid of all the farming and rewild everything and starve ourselves to death. Well, we could do that, of course, but I think that there is probably another way that we should start to consider. Mostly, we live in the public. Most people engage with corporations. We know that the government, for example, is a corporation. The office of the Prime Minister is a corporation. It's there for profit. It's not what you might think as an administration that is there to sort of help you and guide you. No, it's there for a profit. So are the councils. They're all corporations. They're businesses listed to make money. And that's why you get a demand. You don't get a proper invoice, you just get a demand, so you pay your council tax. And you don't get any choice, there's no real contract, you haven't been negotiated with the things that you want, you just have to acquiesce. Or they'll send the bailiffs round, you'll go to court and all of that. Unless actually you start to say, well, where is the contract? Most of us live with this legal fiction, which is our name, which is all in capitals. You will have noticed all your bills, for example, or your correspondence from the government or the council with your name all in capitals. It's not talking to you as a living man or woman, it's talking to your legal fiction, the corporation version of you that isn't you. But you think it's you because the letters are recognisable in English and we think that's us. And so we engage with it, even though actually it's talking to somebody else, somebody you've no idea who it is. Well, I've just told you who it is. So that's the public. Everything that you do in the public is engaging with those corporations. Of course, we can just simply live in the private. So what is the private? Well, the private is where you don't engage with the corporations. It's your own world in which you live honourably, you abide by natural law, you do no harm, and you just get on with your life and you don't acquiesce and you don't contract with the government and the councils and other businesses. Now, of course, sometimes it's useful to be able to agree on certain contracts that you want certain services, and I absolutely understand that. So you might live in the private most of the time, but knowingly engage with the public when you want specific things, but you do it on your own terms. Now, I want to explore more of that, about how that will work and living in the private and saying, actually, no, I'm not part of your system. I'm part of a much more holistic and honourable system that was there long before the governments and the canon law and the kings and the the Pope all came up with this concept of corporation and trying to extract money out of you left, right and centre. And so we'll explore that in further videos. But I think the future is going to involve people who either stay in the public and have no concept of what's going on. They'll end up being herded into these 15-minute cities. They're sitting there behind the screens, using convenience to bring them the food, going to the supermarkets and eating highly processed food that has very little nutrients and minerals and all of those things in it. However, there will be those that will say, no, that's not for me. And I think those people, probably you and I really, watching this, are the ones that are going to find our communities, to go back to a much simpler life, to not engage with the corporations, to be responsible for ourselves. So what does that mean? It means that we actually will start to grow our own food, cook our own food. We'll start to help one another. We'll start to make things. We'll support independent sole trading businesses or partnership businesses, not corporations, but businesses in which we can trade with each other and barter and share in the private rather than with corporations in the public. When you're in the private, it's a much more holistic, wholesome, safe, communicative place where you're being truthful and freedom abounds. When you're in the public, there's this perpetual lie with your legal fiction and the courts and the acts. In the private, you're obeying natural law. You're being honourable and you're doing no harm to anybody. And I think that people will start to gravitate into these communities. They'll take back this responsibility. They will start to help one another. I think one of the things that we need to do is to get away from what we've seen to be the convenience of everything. If we then start to actually understand what that means, the convenience of having something in the room that is playing music, but actually it's listening to you, recording you and entrapping you. Mobile phones, we need to probably move away from the commercial mobile phones and find some of the de-googled ones, or even better, some of the much more simpler ones. See, I'm not saying that we should get rid of technology altogether. Clearly, technology is going to help us. It's going to help us grow food. It's going to help us have a more humanitarian life. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, of course, but let's not get trapped by some of the convenient things. I think one of the things we've got to be very careful about is watching mainstream media, because in mainstream media, the people who want to dominate us and control us will put into that mainstream media the messages they want us to understand and acquiesce to. They are foretelling us things that they want to do with us. And if we don't watch it, if we don't go to the cinema, for example, and watch the big blockbusters in which they tell us the future in those stories. Now, ones and twos isn't going to make much difference, but if a considerable number of people didn't go to the cinema and you didn't hear about what they are actually planting, how many films have you seen in the past, perhaps 10, 20 years ago, that was predicting the future? And here we are looking at this dystopian future that they're projecting for us, and yet they were sort of getting us ready for it by showing us that it was possible in these big blockbuster features. Well, if we didn't go, we didn't know about it, we would never think or be conditioned that it was a possibility. We would be laughing at them saying, no thanks, it's not for me. And that, I feel, is very much what we've got to be able to do, is to laugh at them in the face of them and say, no, this is not for us. We're taking back the control. This is our country and we're having it back. Thank you very much. We're going to group together and look after each other. We're going to set up our own businesses. We're going to make things again. Using our hands and tools, we're going to create our own businesses. We're going to form our own communities once more. We're not going to be atomized, and we're going to grow our own food, and we're going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy life. We're going to enjoy all those free things that are here, that are there to help us. Fresh air, clean water, beautiful weather, sunshine. We're going to move away from this murky world of the public, which is full of these dead entities known as corporations, in which the employees are basically zombies going about doing the work of the corporation, which is, of course, a dead entity, as I said. So I think that we are gravitating. People are aware now, slowly beginning to come aware that there's something wrong with the world. Not all of them know what to do, but I think a number of people are beginning to understand. And these initiatives that I've been reporting on, that people have been getting together in communities, of alternative health, understanding their spirituality, growing wholesome, proper food, cooking together, moving away from the public arena, disengaging with the government, making them irrelevant, not voting, not acquiescing, not agreeing, not being frightened by the nonsense. If we move away from that world and we unite together, we have a huge chance, the opportunity to make all the rubbish that is coming down the pipe disappear. They need us to acquiesce. They need us to give our consent. And they will trick us every possible way to make us have the consent. But if we form our own communities, if we move away from that world, we don't have to consent, and they can't do all those things they want to do to us. Because they believe in karma, you see. They think that if they tell you and you agree to it, even though you don't think you've agreed to it, then it's okay. But if we learn and we wise up and we understand about what it is to live in the private, and we're very cautious about what we read in our correspondence, how we open our letters, are they really addressed to us or are they addressed to a legal fiction? Do we push back and have nothing to do with that legal fiction and that world in the public unless we specifically wish to do so? Then I think we have a big opportunity. I'll talk more about this as I learn about it, and we all learn and we all work out what is the best way forward to get away from the nonsense that the dictators, the tyrannicals, the people who want to have a one world government wish to shove us and herd us into. We will learn and we will gather together and we will unite and we will conquer all of this.